Sorry. Doing demos kind of they always joke that it lowers your IQ by like 10. And it does. Trying to talk and think through things you're saying at the same time you're trying to code and architect. It's hard. All right, so we're down to 2 now. And if you're wondering why making one change in a place got rid of 8 errors, it's just inheritance. A lot of those errors were saying that there was an inheritance issue. All right, so does not implement. I bet it doesn't. All right, so now we're getting somewhere. Okay. And our garbage is already kind of hurting us. Let's get rid of those. Let's make this. All right, so this error is good to kind of look at because I'm trying to add a double to an int, and it's saying, I can't do that. When we change that guy, it'll get rid of all this. And we got the same thing here. Let's figure that out here in a second. All right, 5 more errors. Escatite quotes, there are 2 ways of constructing a software design. One way is to make it so simple that there are obviously no deficiencies, and the other way is to make it so complicated that there are obviously no deficiencies. I like it. I'm stealing that. All right, down to 3. Make this an int. All right, so we had that D on there before, and I'm glad we're coming back to this because ReSharper before was telling us that making this one double and having D was redundant. So now we're saying on the left side this is an int. We're saying on the right side it's a D, and D is for double. So we don't want that. We just want to have it 0. Okay. One more. All right, this one's interesting. The weapon action effect is probably yes. Man, guys, we wrote so much code. We should definitely be proud. just refactoring away. This is going to be one of your more painful refactors because we changed to something that's very fundamental to the game, where we thought we wanted doubles, but you know, ints are going to be much easier to deal with. And we're slowly getting to that point where, okay, if we wanted to work on the algorithm for the player health and a variety of other things, we would have been doing it. We would have had to do a lot of unnecessary parsing, formatting, and number display rules, all to adjust something that was needless. So it would have been a lot of complexity that we didn't need. But it would have been easier to do that seemingly. It would have been seemingly easier to use set precision, to use your number styles, to do all of that in that moment, than to spend the 15 minutes we just spent refactoring. And that's the trap. The trap is the easy solution seeming like the better option, when 2 months from now, when we've got all these complicated parses and formats and displays all over the place, and then we're like, man, to make a change to this formatting is really hard, all to get it down to what should have been an int in the first place. So hang on, let's go back over here. Ashkadai says, do you know a resource for learning the VS debugger? I don't know a good one, actually. I think Channel 9 from MFDN has some pretty good videos out there, mainly because now that Visual Studio 15 is coming out, they're doing a lot of deep dives into what's different, and the debugger is definitely one of those things. The Microsoft certification exams for C# is generally pretty light on debugging, if you were curious. But there's a lot of stuff, not necessarily in debugging, but just in terms of output and the immediate window. So just being able to navigate these things, set watches, stuff like that. There's a deep skill set there, but I don't know of a great resource for it. And to be honest, I'm not great at it myself. Definitely a point I can get better at. So maybe we'll learn together. Take that back, not maybe. We will. We will learn together. All right, I'm just clicking on aimlessly now. Let's go back over to our program. Let's go ahead and close all but this. Let's go ahead and run it. Remove that debug. Alright, so this looks much better, right? We still got 2 bugs, and they both have to do with Gary's dead now, and he doesn't know it. Like we being the player Gary. So Beth hit us for 21 points of damage over and over and over again. She beat us to death. And we don't know that yet, and we need to fix that. So let's just take a quick look. So we needed 2 things. We need to, after every response, display the command. Let's go back into HiveMind for a second. And so our low-hanging fruit option here, I'm sorry, if I'm making you seasick or car sick by doing all the scrolling ups and downs, I apologize. Um, so let's ask the question, what do we know? Or who knows what? So the hive mind doesn't care, but Gary knows he's dead. So the player knows he's dead, and the player has set that they are out of play. So the next time a command comes in from Gary, so let's go ahead and try that. Let's go ahead and test out this theory. I'm saying that I'm pretty sure Gary is dead, even though he doesn't know it yet, like us being the player. But if Gary tried to do something, like, here's where Gary tried to hit Beth. So Beth wallops the snot out of Gary unanswered for like 7 rounds. And Gary decides, you know what, I've had enough of this. I'm going to hit Beth back. What happens now that Gary's dead and doesn't know it, which is something we need to fix, but what happens when he's dead and tries to fight back? Oops. Oh, that makes sense. All right, hang on. We got a display command of not great stuff because it wasn't such an instantiation because the request wasn't. Let's fix that. It looked good for a second before it crashed. It really did. So here, where we set this new game response is out of play, or in play, we didn't pass in the request. Should do that. And so that's the first thing we need to do. And then we also want to the question is, do we want this to be a part of the command stack? No, we don't. If we did, we would add this line up there as well. But we don't really care about, for right now, we really don't care about these short-circuited commands. Okay. So, we inadvertently fixed the bug, but we need to figure out why here in a second. So, but we do need to end here because we're way over time. But, sorry, I need to cough. I think this has been a great session. You got to a great point. So we're starting to see the game kind of come to life where we can render out, and we can process commands. And so Gary heals Beth for 5 damage. Gary tries to fight, but he struggles to move instead because he's disabled. Beth, and then at this point, Beth just seizes the opportunity and just beats Gary to death. Gary tries to fight back, but it says, sorry, Gary is out of play. That's the response. What we need to slipstream in there is that when that final hit kills Gary, we need to have that trigger an output that says, like, Gary falls to the ground or whatever have you. So we're going to mix that in. We still don't have time to do it today, but we did get a lot of great stuff out, and it's starting to look like a game you could play, albeit from the command line and with only some very basic interactions. You could fight and you could heal. And once we implement that last little bit, you could fight each other, and you could heal each other, you could heal yourself. And so you could almost make this a live game. It'd be really simple,